Fruits.
Balrogs Blastbeats for another week. The nerdiest podcast that ever there was. The coolest uncool, as someone unsaid. Up to episode 23. Chugging along, being nerds and talking about random things, and it's just always been a lot of fun. I am one of your nerdy hosts. My name is Josh Redbeard.
Oh, I've never thought of myself as a host, but I'm a hostess with the mostess. I'm Margy.
Yeah, I'm just here because I have to be.
This podcast was your idea, Grant. This was your idea.
That's why I have to be here.
You did this.
You're not disproving my point, are you?
I mean, it's true. I mean, when you put it like that, it's true.
I didn't say I didn't want to be here, but I have to.
You said you're just here. It's the sole reason for your existence. Oh, Lord.
So, as always, after a bit of banter, we're going to take you into the nerdiest thing.
The scheduled banter is now done, and we are moving on.
Ticket box.
We're moving into section 1-2 of the podcast. The nerdiest thing. So the nerdiest thing I've done this week is I watched Avengers: The Endgame for the first time ever.
Wow, never seen it before.
What'd you think?
I was. Well, I also watched it on free-to-air TV as well, so it had ad breaks.
What the fuck's an ad break? Lol.
It was honestly
hilarious.
Much better than I thought it was going to be. I'd put off watching it for ages because I was so Marvel fatigued. I was like, this stuff is just... I just had watched too much of it. Like, Civil War was the last big Marvel movie I went and saw, and I was just so over it by that point that I just put off watching it for years. So I haven't even watched like Infinity War or anything. I just, put on Avengers Endgame, like, oh, sick.
Just cut to the chase. All right, sick.
What's going on now? Everyone's
so
dead.
Confused if you didn't know about what happens in Infinity War, then Endgame would be so confusing.
Look, obviously from like being alive, I have knowledge of what happened.
Fair.
Like the whole snap did. That's probably also why I didn't watch it. Like I've seen it in memes.
Yeah.
But no, it was good. Like it was better than I expected it was going to be.
Oh man.
Like obviously, maybe still not the best movie ever for sure, but yeah, it was alright.
I rewatched it for before we did our special effects thing, so I was all brushed up on CGI. Did you cringe really hard when it's like spoilers? Turn off now. Skip ahead. Okay.
All dead.
When it's like the final battle scene and they're like, oh no, we're fucked. And then they open up all the portals and then all these other people and it was just like, and they're like, Avengers assemble. And I was like, I'm so embarrassed for you. Like, how did you say that line?
So I agree, but probably people like Josh who love comic books are probably like, fuck yeah.
Loved it. I love that line so much. I love that part when they're all like together. It's like, it's because it's such a big line that makes me so happy, that line. I'm going to be honest.
So fucking lame. Holy shit. So lame.
Got his number right here. I've got it right here.
I'm not ashamed of the loser that I am.
I mean, I'm a loser, but like, I think
there's a limit.
I mean, maybe it's because I just make so many faux pas in my life that I was like, that's not cool to say, boys. You're going to get bullied for that.
I also don't get like, I'm just, and I like, maybe this is part of being a massive spook, but I just don't get embarrassed like ever. Like I don't get stage fright. I don't get it like embarrassed. Like it's just whatever I'm doing. I was like, yep, I'm doing this. So maybe that's part of it too.
Yeah, I don't get stage fright anymore. I used to, but that was only because playing music in front of people, I physically couldn't do it because I was so autistic about it that like I'd fully shut down. But like now I'm playing a gig and I'm like, my bandmates are like, oh, I've got the nervous shits, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like ready to go. Haven't shat in a week, boys. I'm ready.
I actually need the nervous shits.
It's the only thing keeping me
I'm
regular.
in medical trouble.
This is not the topic of this podcast. We're not talking about poo.
Please sponsor us all, Bram.
Well, I
need
honestly,
it.
I never delivered my thesis on if Pokemon shitted the Pokeball, so we'll have to eventually go all the way full
We
circle back to
must.
that
Mm.
because there is a new
one day.
Pokemon game out, and that's been pretty good.
Do
so
the
far.
Avengers have butt flaps in their suits? These are the
No, they
big
don't.
questions. Yeah, how the fuck do they poop? Or do they have like astronaut poop tubes? Colostomy
Or
bags?
I'd like is like if you have super strength, can you just like push the poo into your sphincter and just like crush it until it like doesn't exist anymore?
until it reabsorbs into your body.
It just comes out as vapor.
Why are we having this discussion? Why?
Because
Why?
these are the things that matter.
They could power their flight by vaporizing their shit, and then it shoots out the bottom of their tight suit legs as a powerful jet stream, and they take off.
So this is funny, just like the places where our minds go. So last night, Madison, like my partner and I were watching Alien versus Predator. She'd never seen it before. And it's the first fight scene between like the Predator and the alien after the first Predator dies. And they're like swinging him around and like the tongue goes through the head, kills the Predator. And I turned to Madison. I'm like, do you want to know what a moment in my head's like? She's like, oh, okay, go ahead. I'm like, so the first thing that came to my mind is that alien must have a really strong neck, because if it can push its tongue through someone else's head without its neck moving backwards at all, that's a really strong neck, because that's just not the way physics work. And I'm like, and that's a moment in my brain.
I've made a sign for you, Josh. I've made a poop card, and
I'm,
you can.
It's backwards,
and now you can make it say, "Oh, is it? Oh, it's the right way."
Yeah.
I wrote it backwards, so it would be the right way. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We're gonna move on. Margy, what is the nerdiest thing you've been doing this week? What is the? Let's just
wait. Does that mean that this says boob?
No, I think it says, was it semi-quaver, full note, semi-quaver.
Oh, fuck off. All right. That's COVID giving me karma for writing poop on a card for those not watching and holding it up to the camera to try and annoy Josh. But
and for derailing this very professional podcast.
So apart from derailing everyone's lives and just being a general menace, I'm hyperfixating and it's bad. I'm back on Star Wars, back on my bullshit.
Amazing.
I've been watching Visions, which is sick because it's been done by
I really want to watch that.
The best Japanese animation studios. Halfway through it, dope. And then it raised the age-old question of, do I watch this in Japanese or do I watch it with the English dubs? Because the English dubs have got really famous voice actors like George Takei and stuff doing it. And I was like, well, that'd be sick. But also, it was created in Japanese. So, but anyway, that's another story. And then I watched Rogue One, then Andor, then The Mandalorian, then The Book of Boba, and then Tales of the Jedi, which I really liked. Baby Ahsoka is in there. Spoiler alert, just that. She's really cute. And now I'm back on my Clone Wars tirade. I'm doing a long campaign with
Clone Wars is so
good. But I'm also just frantically Googling stuff while I watch it, like genetic reasons for Twi'lek variation in their leku. Like why do some of them have like mottled ones and some don't? And then the meaning of Twi'lek tattoos. Why do some of them file their teeth? I have a lot of thoughts on Twi'leks.
How many tentacles are on Kit Fisto's head?
Oh my god!
Did you look that up?
Like why does that dude in the first trilogy have 3 when Twi'leks are supposed to have 2 leku?
Because he's super.
Yeah,
super
and then
super leku.
and then a super leku you. No, and then why they couldn't make Ahsoka's prosthetics bigger with CGI or something? And are they going to fix it for the Ahsoka series? Because come on, hers and Mandalorian are like what she had when she was 10 or fucking 12 or whatever she is at the start of Clone Wars. We all know from Rebels that her montrals and her leku get huge by the end of it. So. Sorry, but 50, 60-year-old Ahsoka, as we see her in The Mandalorian, I'm really bad at time, so don't judge me. Or probably 40. Okay, cool. So 40-year-old Ahsoka, as we see her in The Mandalorian, should have giant fucking montrals and stuff. But they're just what she had when she was 10. So I'm makes me really mad. And I know that she couldn't do the stunts, but you could see the foam crinkling when she moves her head, and it makes me really mad. I'm like, it doesn't look fleshy. Like, there are other prosthetics in the Mandalorian series that look fleshy, and some in like the Book of Boba, like some of the Twi'leks and that have got really good jiggly, what you want things coming out of your head to look like, your fleshy appendages. But hers just look like foam, and it just makes me really angry. So I've been doing a lot of Googling. My search history is a lot.
Has there been any like fan theories about like death sticks? Like she started smoking death sticks too young, now her growth is stunted.
No, but because we've seen her with full-sized ones. That's the problem. If we hadn't seen it, if we hadn't seen them grow throughout throughout Clone Wars, and then big in Rebels, and then tiny in Mandalorian, like, anyway.
I always thought that Rebels was after Mando. Oh no, it can't be. No, because Mando's after. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, it is Mando's after Rebels for sure.
Yeah, so unless they shrink in your old age, surely they'd just get saggy in your old age. What happens? What happens? This is another thing I'd be Googling. What happens with your Leku and your, like, also your Montrals, which are the things that the Togruta have at the top of their head. You know how, like, they stick up like kind of horny things. Do those go floppy when they get old? These are things I really need to know.
I'm asking the important questions.
These are the things that George Lucas doesn't know.
I know, right?
These are things he never thought about.
I'm overthinking things. Josh, you been getting weird and hyperfixated?
I haven't this week. I went and saw Black Panther: Wakanda Forever the other day, and it was okay.
This podcast is sponsored by Marvel, which is owned by Disney. So this podcast is sponsored by Disney, which also owns Star Wars.
And it's like, it was. I tried to go into it and watch it as if it was a film on its own island, but it was really, really hard to not think about how much, and obviously he couldn't be there, and you understand why, but like how much better it would have been with Chadwick Boseman in it. Unfortunately, he passed away.
Okay, okay.
He did pass. Yeah, he did pass away. So it's like they had the whole script written to go, and it's they talk about like the director here is Ryan Coolidge, I think that's his name. It was like one of his last phone calls with Chadwick was he just finished the script and did Chadwick want to read it, and then unfortunately he passed away. And so it was like the film paid a lot of respects to Chadwick Boseman, and like in the whole, like the way that they told the story was really good, because it literally was like, it's not really a spoiler because it happens at the start. It's like he's off camera but dying in the very first scene of the film, and then it's sort of them dealing with the aftermath of like,
how does he die? Oh wait, no, that's a spoiler. Sorry.
No, it's they don't actually say he has some disease that they just like, it was debilitating, that they would like, there's like this whole urgent scene in the very first scene of them trying to like get a cure happening, but like it's too late. And so it's like the family kind of dealing with this loss afterwards. And then like the character of Namor is phenomenal. Like everything that I forget the dude's name, but he was amazing. And the way that they retold the story of, you know, his people and everything like that is amazing. But it's like, it was really, really hard to not watch it and think like, fuck, it would have been like, it would have been one of the best Marvel movies if Chadwick Boseman was in it, and they were able to tell his story with like him fighting Namor. And so it was hard to watch it on an island, because on an island it was really well done. It was amazingly acted. It was really well shot.
I heard the CGI on it was pretty average.
Yeah. Underwater scenes have never been perfect. Like that's just hard to do in general.
Speaking of underwater scenes, we do have a movie which is going to be very underwater coming out soon. I'm fucking excited.
What, 10 years late?
Yeah, the one that's super, super late, and they've spent trillions of billions of quadrillions filming. Yeah.
Which means just the way that our society works is people are gonna fucking hate it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but also James Cameron has already come out and said that the movie's shit. I don't know if you saw this, but he literally came out and he said, because originally it was supposed to be 5 movies, and he came out and said that if this movie doesn't do well, then they're prepared to take it down to a trilogy rather than 5 movies. And you would only say that if you knew that the movie wasn't any good. Like, you would not publicly come out and say, if this film doesn't succeed, then we'll make it a trilogy rather than 5 films, unless you knew that the film sucked. You just wouldn't.
That's true.
And they don't have the gimmick of being like the first like proper like live action 3D film to go off with.
Exactly. And it's like, I couldn't care. I was so excited.
I just love that James Cameron broke his own records Titanic was
Oh,
like the
yeah.
biggest blockbuster success ever, and then it was broken by James Cameron again with Avatar.
But I guess the thing that I don't understand is like, I get that the first one was so big, but he's got to understand that this one isn't going to be as big. Why didn't he just leave it as one film? Like, because it's
It was
like
perfect.
that was
It was
the
just
story was wrapped up in the first one. Like, yeah, cool, you have this universe now, but unless there's a need to tell that story, I don't understand. Like, go on and make something else.
They
You're
just
James Cameron.
the only reason they've made it is because they have babies in this. I'm assuming because the white guy and the blue lady banged it out, so that's why they're making these movies. Is confirmation of interspecies breeding using.
So it's
clones.
just the Futurama episode about Snoo Snoo.
Yeah, it's pretty much Death by Snoo
It's
Snoo
100%.
Water Edition.
Yeah, well, like, yeah, I don't understand why they make like, it's not going to make as much money as the first one. They have to know that, and like to come out and say that your movie sucks is like, obviously I'm reading a lot into that, but that's 100% what you're saying when you come out and say something like that.
100%. But
yeah.
back to Black Panther. Sorry, I do like derailing things, don't I?
No, but it was like, yeah, that was kind of the end of the Black Panther. It's like I did my best to enjoy it for what it was, and there's a lot of good things in the film. I feel like Ironheart was probably a bit forced into it. Like
What's
the story
Ironheart?
of Ironheart. So I like Riri Williams is like a really it's just like another Tony Stark basically, and she makes like a suit of armor, and there's a whole kind of storyline that has her as kind of like the new version of Tony Stark. And there is an Ironheart series coming out on Disney Plus soon enough, and so this was the introduction of Riri Williams.
Can they just call it Iron Woman?
No, because she has to be her own thing.
It's just hard to keep up with.
Yeah, but I feel like that storyline was a little bit jammed into this, and it wasn't really necessarily. It didn't really bring the story forward.
Why do Marvel need
anyway,
to mix all their bits together? Can't they just fucking keep it as it is? Like, just save it for that extra scene at the end. That'll explain everything.
Yeah. So yeah. It was okay. I think in terms of like Phase 4 properties, it's definitely not the best. But for what they had to work with, it was good. But yeah, it was hard.
They lost the main character.
Yeah, it was
nailed it.
It would have been impossible for this film to be amazing. Really,
yeah.
Like fair to them, it would have been impossible. But they did well with what they had.
They gave it a crack.
They did.
Good for them.
But we're going to move in to the medium beat for this week. And Grant, you're coming at us with a severely underrated. So Grant,
I am.
And I feel like Josh might end up taking over this segment.
I don't think it's severely underrated from us three, or especially you and I, Josh.
Oh no, I respect.
Yeah. As a whole, though, Starship Troopers, fantastic sci-fi film. Amazing practical effects. Doesn't get the love it deserves.
Them bugs
tanked at the box office.
How badly did it tank? Like $10.
It had a budget of, I think it was $110 million, and it did 50 at the box office. Like, it didn't even make half.
So it lost a lot of money.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
It opened up against something pretty big as well.
It would have come out about the same time as Titanic. I think it came out like 97.
Yeah, that's it. It was Titanic. Yeah,
Starship Troopers is 97. Titanic was 96 though.
Okay. I remember it came out.
It was based on a novel. Huge. Okay, run us through the story for those who aren't familiar. How do you explain Starship Troopers?
Well, it's a neo-fascist society that's the whole movie is a parody. Like, you got to start, the whole movie is a parody, but also it's like a let's go shoot up the aliens, boys, oorah kind of movie. But it's like, and everything is just so sarcastic and facetious through the whole movie.
It's like, yeah, it's sort of like if the Nazis won, because that's the whole joke about it being all these like really stunningly beautiful white people, but it's based in
Brazil.
Argentina.
They're all in Brazil.
Yeah, it's Buenos Aires, yeah. And it's like that was the whole joke. Is like, yeah, after World War II, they all went to South America. But it's like, yeah, that's the kind of thing. And you can see like in like the sergeant's uniforms and stuff like that, there's like lightning bolts and shit on the neck. Like there's all these real subtle things about it being like what would happen if the Nazis won. And yeah.
But the issue was like, because the guy who did Starship Troopers also directed the first RoboCop.
Yeah, Paul
So
Verhoeven.
there's also like kind of, first of all, there's like a little bit of a like, is it the same universe RoboCop? Is it RoboCop before Starship Troopers? But also the way that Starship Troopers was marketed was as a serious film, not as a spoof. Or like, it's not a spoof, but like it's incredibly sarcastic.
I'm just imagining it marketed as a spoof. Coming to you this summer is, and it's like dumb sound effects of like.
Yeah, honestly, that probably would have been what it was like without the fart sounds.
Everything's better with fart
96,
sounds.
97.
It was released. It actually got pushed back in its release dates. So it was initially scheduled for release in July, but instead Sony released Men in Black, and then it was meant to be screened in later in July, but then it was pushed back by Air Force One. It was number one on the weekend that it was released, but then the next weekend it had dropped to number 2 behind The Little Mermaid. So
That's what it was up against, Grant. Yeah, it never had a chance.
it never. Is The Little Mermaid a satire?
Sort of. But Paul Verhoeven was on a real hot streak. Like looking at, like, so he did RoboCop and then Total Recall, Basic Instinct, Showgirls, and then Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
But one of these things is not like the other.
Then did Hollow Man and crashed through, because Hollow Man was fucking terrible.
That's Kevin
so
Bacon,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of. Oh wait, instead of being Hollow, he's invisible. That's Invisible Man, not Hollow Man. I'm ready, Hollywood. I'm ready for your call. It's all right.
Wow, I've never seen this popularity tab on IMDb, but the popularity tab for Hollow Man is now currently down 2,870. Ouch. I'm not even sure what that means, but it doesn't sound good.
But yeah, I 100% agree that it's like Starship Troopers does not get, even now I feel like it's still a very cult thing. Like I don't want to be like that old man that says kids these days, but it doesn't. Kids these days don't watch it like they'd watch like other nostalgia films of the time.
When I first watched it, because I only watched it as like an adult, so I saw it for the first time like 8 years ago. I'm gonna say that's a guess. Time's an illusion. I did not know it was a satire, and I was like, "What the like?" And admittedly, I was kind of scared because I didn't like the bugs, but and I find everything scary. Let's be real. But then second watch, which was a couple of years after that, and realizing that it was a satire, I was like, "Oh, this is fucking fantastic." But yeah, like your first watch, especially if you're like the kind of viewer like me, like a movie's on, but I'm like, I don't know, derailing things somewhere. I'm, like I'm not paying full attention, so I don't like immerse myself in movies because I have the brain capacity of like an infant. I could see as far as an infant as well. But yeah, like, so I think maybe that's the reason why people don't really get it, is not knowing it's a satire.
It definitely adds like another layer. Like because I watched it when it came out, because I'm an old man, and like obviously like as a kid I didn't think it was a satire. I just thought, oh yeah, this is a sick action film. It's like you watch it. It's one of those things you watch as an adult, and then obviously when you get taught about everything, you kind of yeah, and it becomes a lot darker and a lot lighter at the same time. But yeah, I feel like it needs that that sort of resurrection. But I guess it's because the legacy was sort of ruined by like Starship Troopers 2 and 3.
Yeah, they suck. They don't.
I've never seen them. Probably won't.
I'm a sucker for bad movies, and I remember putting on Starship Troopers 2 and turning it off after 20 minutes because I was like, I don't want to watch.
I don't want to taint.
Don't do this to me. Don't do this to Starship Troopers.
And like, I fucking love, like, I made a friend of mine watch an amazingly bad 80s horror film called Chopping Mall, which is about these security robots in a mall in the 80s who go mental and like kill everyone. And it's fucking hilarious, but it's so goddamn bad, but I love it because it's bad. Whereas like Starship Troopers 2 was just bad, like actually just bad. And yeah, it's one of the few movies that I've ever turned off because I was like, nah. And so I think like if Starship Troopers 2 and 3 were better, like if they were like done by Paul Verhoeven as well, and like I think Casper Van Dien came back for the third one, but he wasn't in the second one. And he, well,
No,
I mean,
he's not. Yeah.
yeah, we'll get into him in a second, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's very much. I feel like they kind of ruined their own legacy. Apparently, there's an anime though, like Starship Troopers. I think it's called Marauder, and apparently that's actually quite good. I haven't seen it, but apparently that's quite good.
Stuff that you didn't know that you needed in life.
Yeah, and I say anime. It may actually be like an American,
an animated
anime.
series.
Yeah, animated
a cartoon.
Series. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I think it had a lot of the same sort of like animation techniques as they use in Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. So it's like CGI anime.
Ah, gross! I hate that.
Oh, well, I mean that's kind of like what Clone Wars is, though, and Clone Wars fucking slaps.
Yeah, but I feel like it's
takes getting used to.
stylized in a good way.
That's true.
Like I don't like, but then again, I really like the original Clone Wars series as well.
Oh yeah, the short 2D animation.
Yeah,
that's a bit underrated.
Yes.
Back to the Starship Troopers. I'm just in a mood for derailing today. I've woken up and chosen chaos. I'm sorry, boys.
It's almost like you have ADHD or something.
Well, I guess like talking about Starship Troopers, we could probably almost move into our long beat and talk about 15 minutes of fame. If you want to take that away, Josh.
Yeah, 100%.
Spoiler. You already took it away.
Very good. It is a very good segue, as you may have noticed, dear listener, from the title of this one. It is called "Fading into Obscurity," and it is like looking at the people and the things that were really famous and then sort of faded away. You know, like the whole idea of 15 minutes of fame, or nowadays it's closer to 15 seconds of fame, I guess. But I like, yeah, it's because obviously
how long's a TikTok for? 60 seconds of fame.
60 seconds of fame.
Yeah, we've gone up since Vine. That Vine was 50 seconds.
Yeah, we've dipped and then come back up.
Speaking of 15 minutes of fame, Vine.
But yeah, obviously actors are very, very known for being like real hot property at one point in time and then sort of falling off the face of the earth for kind of different reasons as well. And speaking of Starship Troopers, yeah, Casper Van Dien, who played Johnny Rico in it, was like, he's Hollywood's dream. Like he has these stunning blue eyes, this chin that could like cut through stone. Like he was such a fucking good looking dude. And he was like, at the time, like he was given 3 massive opportunities. Like in quick succession, he did Starship Troopers, and then he was in Sleepy Hollow, the Tim Burton Sleepy Hollow, and then he did a Tarzan as well.
Yeah, Tarzan.
But obviously, like Starship Troopers was a box office bomb. Sleepy Hollow was popular, but he was not the reason why it was popular. It was Christina Ricci and Johnny Depp were the reason that was a success. And then obviously, like Tarzan was fucking torn
garbage.
Through.
George of the Jungle, way better than Tarzan too. Brendan Fraser fan club. Thank you.
Brendan, I'm gonna steal this line from you, Margy, and say Brendan Fraser can get it.
Oh, he can get it.
But yeah, it's like after that, he just sort of disappeared, which I thought was really interesting because I was just kind of like, oh, okay, like he was hot property, like, he did a couple of things, but he was still like, he wasn't a bad actor. Like he played those cheesy characters very well. But yeah, he just sort of, he did a mountain of straight to TV stuff. Like you look at his IMDb thing, it's just like TV movie.
One of my life goals is starring in a Hallmark film, like a straight to TV movie, or having one based 100%. On my life.
My favorite thing looking at his IMDb though is in 2015, back to back, he did a film called Sharktopus versus Whale Wolf.
Oh yeah, that sounds amazing.
And then straight after that, did a film called Rat-pocalypse, which
that sounds fucking sick. It's the Black Plague.
Yeah, and he has like continued to work, but like literally, after Starship Troopers, the only thing that I recognized was he was in Alita Battle Angel. He had one scene in Alita Battle Angel.
Huh.
Yeah, and I was like, and it's like, no, he's the robot that breaks into the office to try and steal stuff from the fucking what's that dude?
Yeah, that person.
Inglourious Bastards thing.
Brad Pitt.
I love that. Christoph Waltz. He's the one that breaks into Christoph Waltz's doctor's thing looking for stuff. He's like literally in one scene, and because he's so like heavily augmented as robot stuff, you don't even realize that it's him. Yeah, has aged well. Like he actually looks very, very good.
Maybe he chose to step back from acting to focus on having a baby. or and he's focusing on raising a family instead.
No, he just.
No, I
he
think
just,
he stepped back from major films without wanting to.
I
It
was
wasn't his
just
It
trying
was
to make a
TV stuff.
satirical comment about how we treat women versus how we treat men in society.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely not.
maybe his body didn't
But,
bounce back after having that baby.
But I did find that he did a really weird infomercial, which I'm gonna post the link to the YouTube thing in the
I love
comments.
it.
He did an infomercial dressed as his character Johnny Rico about stopping child abuse. But
Does he go, "Hey,
cannot,
I'm Johnny Rico. Don't hit your kids," or like?
no, it's
Would you like
more
to know more?
no. It was weirder because he's dressed up as Johnny Rico. He's like, we're all at a war and we know who the perpetrators are, and I need you to fight with me. Like, it was really kind of dark. Like, I'll post the link in the YouTube in the fucking show notes. You've got to go and
You
watch
got to
it.
fight them children.
But then it came out afterwards that he was actually a survivor of child abuse when he was a child, and so it's like it makes sense then going and watching this clip and seeing like why he has this real dark intensity about it that's beyond just an infomercial. It's weird. Like
This
I said,
is heavy. I'm feeling
it'll
some
be
things.
in the show notes. It'll be in the show notes. But yeah, Casper Van Dien kind of fading into obscurity. I was always really surprised that he did, and I always kind of thought that he'd make a comeback. But like, yeah, he's consistently worked, and I think that's kind of part of like fading into obscurity. Is it doesn't mean that people kind of stop,
Took their money and ran away.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, and like sometimes that's the better option. And I have a really good example of that a little bit later on because, yeah, it's a bit of a weird thing. Because I mean, the other example obviously is like one-hit wonders for bands. Because like in our scene, the first band that always comes to mind as a one-hit wonder is Drowning Pool. And
Who dat?
Yes, you know.
Oh, the bodies.
Let
the
the
bodies
hit
hit
the
the
floor.
floor.
Like
What a
they
banger.
still tour and play, but like they have, in my opinion, they have one song.
Yeah, they just play that song. They come out,
Yeah.
they play it, they leave stage, they get encored for that song. Yeah, like
I saw Disturbed once, and they played that song before Disturbed came on stage, and everyone was way more G'd up about Let the Bodies Hit the Floor than Disturbed.
That's very
I mean,
funny.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like, one-hit wonders do still happen, which I didn't think was a thing, but like they definitely do. Do you think they happen less now, or same, or I don't know?
I reckon there's probably more. Like, I think like people probably know more about people that've had one-hit wonders, but like there's definitely like, people really know that one song and they don't care about anything else.
Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like maybe there's bigger like selling of, especially for like pop stars. It's like you sell the art, like the artist as a whole. Like, like
Image.
I'm trying to think of like the chick with the ponytail, the ponytail girl.
That narrows it down dramatically.
Oh, she's got a ponytail. I don't know. It's about like the artist, and you love them because they've got this personality and they're like, I don't know, like I feel like they're sold more as like a big thing now, and it's less about writing the thing. But there is like a science to one-hit wonders, which is pretty cool.
Go on. I want to hear a science
it's about having like a certain amount of difference. Someone's actually studied it, but like when I looked at like the study, I was like, not really like I don't think you really discovered anything. But it's got to be like the right amount of different. So it's got to be suitably unique from other songs at the time. So like
So like Wonderwall.
Yeah, like it's got to be like, I don't know, it's got to be the right amount of different, but it's got to have enough familiarity about it. So it's got to have like a really catchy something, so that when you hear it played on the radio, you get that like little rush, like, oh, it's this song. Like you need to be able to make it distinctly recognizable, but familiar enough so it's not like, and but also suitably unique. So
But is there anything in that study though about why they only why
They
the
can't
iron only
replicate
strikes
it.
once? Like why? Why
because
can't?
it's because then the rest of their catalog can't be exactly the same thing, because that one song had just the right combination of like different from everything else at the time and all of that kind of stuff. So they can't. So then if they release something that's too similar, then everyone's like, well, it's just the same as the song before. And if they release something that's too different, like it's like this really nice thing. But that's what I mean. Like, but it's someone trying to quantify in this study and like really talk about like analytically music. And I'm like, yeah, but like I don't really get like how different. Like Ariana Grande, the ponytail girl, like all of her songs sound the same to me. But maybe that's why she hasn't had a one-hit wonder, because she hasn't had one that sticks out from all the rest of her stuff.
Stands out.
And
so
then,
much more,
but also, like, the reason why all these people stick around is because Sia and Ed Sheeran write all their songs and they make dumb money.
Yeah,
Sure.
but like, I don't know. So it's like things like Gautier, like from a while ago, like maybe all of their catalog sounds kind of similar, you know, like
he had 2 songs, but like, he still makes 40 grand a year off of that song. So,
but like,
he's doing all right.
It's like all of your stuff, all of your stuff is pretty homogenous, but just one of your songs has got the right riff or the right throwback to a certain style of music or the right something comes together, and everyone's like
Black Sheep.
Yeah, everyone's like that's got the Bar Black Sheep goodness, that slaps. And then
well, isn't that what somebody used to know is? Isn't that Bar Black Sheep? Isn't that what it is? It's one of those, or
it's close.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Yeah, it's Bar Black Sheep.
Oh my. Well, it's no bloody Cotton Eye Joe, I can say that. All right. But I looked at the psychology though of like the one-hit wonders, inconclusive. Trying to study music is really bloody hard. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't quantify music without doing genre.
Quantifying art is difficult.
What? It's hard to do? Then why does art history exist? Because people need something to waste their money on at university.
I didn't want to be the one to say that. I'm glad that you did, Margy.
I have no fear. Gotcha. So like, because we're an ADHD generation, so it's kind of hard now to think about things having like everything kind of comes and goes really quickly. Like something's on Netflix, it's great, we watch it, then we all talk about it, and then something else gets released on Netflix and it's great, and we watch it and we all talk about it, and then something else gets released and it's great, and like, you know, it's just constant consumption of media nowadays. So can things still be 15 minutes of fame? Or do they become cult classics instead? So like it does so like something like Starship Troopers is a cult classic. Like it's got a set of fans who are like, well, this movie's brilliant. But is that just making a distinction between people who hold on to things and people who don't engage as deeply with culture and just kind of consume? Like, is that kind of the difference? Like, are they clinging onto the past types or come as you are, move along things? Like, I don't know. That's just something that I was thinking about. That's not really, I do have psychology, but like, yeah.
But I mean, like that, I think that kind of like maybe that bleeds into the, you know, that thought that I've always had, especially more lately. And I kind of like, I've asked a couple of friends of it over the years. It's just kind of like, if you look back, you know, 30, 40 years ago now, it's like a band like Metallica, like Iron Maiden and stuff like that, and they were fucking huge, like massive gods, and they still are now, like 40 years
litigious
later,
massive gods,
like ridiculously big. But like, will we see that ever again? Like, if you think about all the bands like that are around now, there isn't a lot of bands that have broken through to that level that you can see is still going to be relevant 40 years from now. And it's like, it's
Dillinger Escape Plan will always be relevant, and I will die.
But Dillinger always been niche. Like Dillinger will never be the size of Metallica. Like,
yeah,
Dillinger
and also they've disbanded.
It should be. Yeah, they should 100% be. But like, yeah, there is that sense that like bands nowadays are all just going to fade into obscurity, are all only ever going to get their 15 minutes of fame.
I feel like if you're to get that big, you need to get in on the ground floor, and that's what Metallica and Iron Maiden were of their respective styles. They got in on the ground floor of a new movement.
We need to make a new genre of music.
But yeah, if you can, I don't know if there's anywhere to go.
We're doing classical metal. So
That was
everything's
done a long time ago.
fucking.
It's called
Flesh
Within
God.
Temptation. Oh yeah, Flesh God will do it too.
Oh.
Yeah, I was thinking more like that operatic metal, like Within
Ah, yeah.
Temptation.
No,
and
I
I was
wish.
thinking. I was thinking like Baroque era, like on a harpsichord. That real.
That's Ghost. Ghost did that.
Oh fucking! You know what, musicians? Fuck yous. I just want to be original, but it's
Well,
all
you don't
been
even have to
done.
like if you complain about ghosts and musicians, you don't have to worry because he just fires them all anyway. It doesn't pay him any money.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But I thought more about this concept because I was just kind of like, will 30 years from now on Stranger Things season 50, will there be like a band from today's
Like,
song
Bring
being
Me the
played
Horizon or something.
will Bring Me the Horizon song being played the
We will
Demigorgon.
never sleep because sleep is for the weak.
And I think because of advances in technology, the answer is no for two reasons. One is because if you go back to the times of Metallica, not anyone could record an album. You had to have a lot of financial backing because recording an album
Lars's
costs so much
dad.
fucking money. Yeah, exactly. Whereas like now you could record an entire album on a laptop that you could buy from JB Hi-Fi. Like it is actually possible to create.
Okay, we're gonna
the
stop
last-
bringing up JB
yeah.
Hi-Fi unless they're gonna fucking give
It's
me
just-
something for free.
Yeah,
The last
absolutely.
Zeolite album costs us $1,000.
Exactly.
That's
And the last Zeolite
so
album
fucked.
is fucking sick.
It's
It's so
slaps.
sick. But yeah, and then because of that as well, it means that more bands can put their stuff out there, and because of the internet, we connect to more and more things. But it's sort of that double-edged sort of connection. Is like it's sort of it kind of spreads out the market. So like because there weren't so many metal bands back in the day, everyone had to listen to Metallica because you didn't have that many options. Now we don't have to listen to Metallica because I can go and listen to a million goddamn other bands that are in my
Now you
opinion
can
better.
listen to Slayer, Josh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Fuck Slayer. Fuck Slayer.
God
Fuck
listens to
I
Slayer.
fucking hate Slayer. No, he doesn't. Absolutely not. God
God is a
understands
woman.
worst metal bands ever. Fuck Slayer. But no, it's
You
like
know what? You're gonna get Angel of Death scream for that.
fight me. I'll die on this hill.
I don't have the lung capacity. Fucking COVID, it's destroyed me.
But it means that, because people can go and find more and more niche things, it's like, I don't like this band, but I like this band. Well, now this band exists, whereas this band never used to. But because of that, it means that bands will never reach that kind of terminal velocity or whatever you want to call
unless they're Taylor Swift. Like,
nah, fuck Taylor Swift.
yeah,
I'll do
but
a whole
like,
episode on how
so,
much
but
I
you know,
hate her.
like, that's the thing. Like, I think what's happening is like, back in the day, metalheads had fucking, slim pickings. And then today, like, we are spoiled for choice. I mean, if I want to listen to deathcore, I can listen to a different band, one song of each for the entire day and have stuff, which is crazy. Like, deathcore didn't even exist back in the day, and now we fucking have it, and we have so many so at people
Almost
who
to the
like
point
it,
where there's so much bands now that I spend more time skipping past bands I don't like rather than the ones I do.
yeah, right. And so, but that's the thing, like, and metalheads and people who like alternative music, people who don't just listen to commercial talkback radio and go, people music or human music. Like,
Human music.
that's honestly how I picture like normies who like can listen to talkback radio. But like, if you're a metalhead, or alternative music fan, you're immediately more discerning because you're like, you immediately know that there's something that you don't like. You don't like Taylor Swift, and so you shouldn't. And then I don't like that genre of music. And then you also have, and you find these subgenres, and you find these pockets, and you find these niches, and we really wean ourselves and spread ourselves thin by doing that, wherein and you're less likely to have a one-hit wonder from a metal band, because with the exception of like Let the Bodies Hit the Floor or Down with the Sickness, it's hard to get that sweet combination in alternative music of like vibe and whatever it is that makes a one-hit wonder. So it's like, yeah, I don't know, like I think metal bands like build loyalty and following, and like an alternative music fans build loyalty and following, and something that you'll really engage with for a long time, wherein popular music culture turns over a bit more quickly. And yeah, but I don't know, speculation.
Yeah. But no, I think it's like, you know, you look at like TikTok and Vine and all that kind of stuff has created this sort of like consume and consume and consume. And I
Oh,
saw
right.
like someone venting the other day on Facebook. He was talking about how, like, you know, like people will invest their lives and, you know, they'll practice every night to get in this band and play this music, and they'll, you know, they'll play to a couple of hundred people and that's cool. And then someone does like, you know, this shitty lo-fi pop thing on fucking TikTok and gets like 2 million likes. And
I
was
also like
yeah,
that
but
as you were saying, shitty lo-fi pop thing. For those listening, Josh was doing something with his hand that
It's
looked
like
like he was playing like an
tinkling it.
8-string guitar, and I was like, "All right, Toes
Yeah.
and Abasi, like fucking calm down." Like
Doing some
that's
double thumb.
that's not where I thought you were going, but all right.
But yeah, it's like, but I think like, and then they were saying, you know, like, this sucks because, you know, we'll never get that sort of attention. I was like, but like that video will last 2 days and then something else comes along, and this like video that got 2 million views does just fade into obscurity. Like, yeah, sure, 2
No one
million people
cares
saw
anymore.
it for 3 seconds, but then no one cares ever again because it was just consumed so quickly. Whereas like
Yeah.
when you
But
do dedicate yourself to a band, it's like you do garnish people that won't forget about you. And so you actually you have less fans, but you don't fade into obscurity because people remember you.
yeah.
As musicians, do you feel like that's, because I'm not a musician, do you feel like that's a fair
Yeah.
saying?
I think I don't know. Like I discover bands who I've never heard of whose last release was in 2004, and I'm like, how have I never heard of this band? And like I'll listen and I'm just like, oh, this is fucking awesome. And like I'm really appreciating their music now, and I think that's just like so cool that you can like leave a legacy
Yeah.
that someone will find it one day and be like, oh, this is sick. Like
Yeah, fit their niche.
yeah, and
Yeah.
if like, you know, if someone can listen to what you've created and enjoy it, that's great.
But no one's going to go and find that TikTok from 5 years ago that got 2 million likes.
Well,
in 48
because that's
hours.
the thing. So like I think this is like a social psychology thing, which is like kind of why there is a mainstream and why the alternative is the alternative. Because so have you guys heard of in-group and out-group?
Not at all.
Okay, so it's part of social identity theory. So like
I should have known.
part of your individual self-concept is acquired from your membership in relevant social groups. So for us, the way that we present to the world, we are very in-group. Like we could walk into a metal gig and we're in-group at a metal gig. We're tattooed, you know, like, you know, you look tough, you're wearing a black shirt with a logo on it, you fit in, and that feels good. But for most people, especially people who aren't neurospicy, like the in-group, the in-group is being normal. It's joining that Taylor Swift queue that crashed the internet. I don't fucking know, something happened. But being in the in-group is ideal because you get the feeling of us, like you get that sense of belonging. And you can consider the in-group, if you don't mind being uncomfortable and being on the outside of the majority, then that's where you can explore the other. So if you're in the out group from popular culture, if you're in the out group, that gives you a chance to explore all this other stuff. But the in group is like we can think of it as like, you can think of it in all different ways. Like anything can be the in and the out group. But if the biggest in group is pop culture consuming, pop music loving, basic bitches. So it's all about it because it all comes down to tribalism. Because humans need a sense of unity, harmony, belonging. As they say in the book of Boba, I saw this nice quote. He said, "You can only get so far without a tribe." So, but following a trend can also be a mental shortcut. So if you follow what other people are doing, it just is easier. You don't have to think as much. Like, you know, you can just put on music that is number one or the top of the pops, whatever. I don't know how normal people, Spotify's hot mixtape, and you put it on and, you know, it just cuts out having to think. You just get the music and it
the people music.
Yes, the people music.
Human music.
And because to learn what is correct, this is how babies do it. This is how humans do it. You look at what other people are doing because that's just basic tribalism and fitting in. You know, if you're walking down the street like on all fours, arched over backwards, Exorcist style, and you're like, this is how I'm going to get around, and then everyone's like, are you okay? And like everyone's honking at you and throwing shit at you. You're like, something in you goes, oh, I'm doing something wrong. you know, like, and I think it's hard for us because we are like the alternative. Like we're used to feeling, oh, I'm doing something wrong. But for most people, it's, as a philosopher and mathematician once said, I found this really good quote, which sums it up. Civilization advances by extending the number of operations we can perform without thinking about them.
That's cool.
Yeah. So consumers often follow this really simple heuristic. Popular is good. That's it. Just popular good. That's how they think. It's a bandwagon effect. Also, people think differently when they're part of a crowd. If you're a pop music person and crowd psychology normally studies people in physical crowds, which is really interesting. But you can also look at crowd psychology, and I think this is going to be a new field of crowd behavior through social media. That's something that I'm going to be really interested in. But yeah. But anyway,
but it's, I mean, that quote also sort of kind of explains this whole idea of fading into obscurity and why we're maybe seeing more of it is like, yeah, as this thing said, it's like, you know, as society progresses, because we do more things that we don't have to think about. So it's like, as we don't think about things, it's sort of like, oh, they're interesting, and then we just sort of forget about them. Whereas like if we thought about them more, we'd attach to them, and then they wouldn't fade into obscurity.
So that's kind of like the people who hold on to things and engage, and the people who don't. And I would argue that the people who will latch onto something and the people who are fans still to this day of, like, I don't know, like the Twilight Zone, you know, from fucking a long time ago.
60s.
Yeah. So people who were still from 60, if it was the 60s, it's 60 years ago. So people who were fans of like the Twilight Zone are people who are probably more unique and more progressive, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe we're less progressive because we're spending a lot of time thinking about old TV shows instead of like contributing to society. It's like, fuck me, love Pokemon. It's like you want to get out there and do something useful. No, just gonna think about Pokemon.
No, I just want to go back to Indigo League.
That's my plan. So like, if you guys want to wrap this up anytime soon, it'll be great.
But I do.
Sorry.
Oh, so I have got a list of humans doing that shortcut thing where see something, don't think, just do, and trends that have resulted from pop culture.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jesus.
What I was gonna say was something to make us all feel old is the fact that half these, like, you're talking about Vine and TikTok at the same time, half the kids on TikTok probably have never even heard of Vine.
That's because they're fucking idiots. No, I saw a TikTok about Vine the other day. So
yeah, there was probably from someone our age. We had like uncovering, like it had like an archaeologist's brush on it.
Like, that was the joke.
Was it actually?
Kids, you need to go on YouTube right now and just type in best of Vine compilation, and there'll be the rest of your day sorted. It's really the fucking bomb. That was best of Vine. Like YouTube, I never actually got Vine. I would just wait till it was, because it's the same thing today. It's like I don't watch TikToks. I just watch when someone puts them on Instagram instead.
Yeah.
And this was the same thing. It was like I never watched Vines. I would wait till someone made a compilation and put it on YouTube, and then I would watch that.
Yeah, it's weeding out the crap for you.
Yeah. You tell me which ones are good.
Do you guys want to hear about how people are just fucking idiots and they see something and they do it?
Monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey
Optimize
do.
your life.
Let's go. 2010, new Doctor Who with that guy who wore the bow tie, forgot his name, led to a spike in bow tie sales. Whenever a new season of Stranger Things starts, guess what the sale of rises? The sale of a certain food. Eggo. Eggo fucking pops off every time a new season comes out. Wensleydale cheese was super popularized and its sales super increased from Wallace and Gromit. The Queen's Gambit, I think we all know, huge spike in sales of chess sets, interest in chess books and clubs. 1930s America, spinach sales greatly boosted thanks to Popeye. Yeah. The reason why checkered slip-on vans are so readily available and such a classic, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Checkered slip-on vans used to be very low produced, not really anything. And then from that movie, super popular.
Shame that the Lost Profits ruined that one.
We don't go into that. Okay, tourism to New Zealand greatly increased after.
Lord of the Rings.
Hey, Davy Crockett made one item the must-have toy of the year, which is a raccoon skin cap. That's apparently a toy, and that was what everyone wanted. Lately, everyone's been putting gemstones on their face, including me, due to the Euphoria TV show, which I haven't seen, but it's adults playing teenagers. Teenagers having sex. Which I was like,
that's everything though, isn't
okay.
it? Every teenager on TV is 30.
Every teenager is on and they have more adult relationships than I do at 30. I'm like, man, when I was in high school, I was like not concerned about that. I was like just listening to music and just, I don't know, like.
I think it's just more watching, like, I know that dude's not young enough to be taking that much creatine.
Okay, after Billy Elliot, significant rise in the boys applying to ballet school. So that's a nice one.
Wow. That's awesome. I like
that. Rosemary's Baby led to women getting the pixie haircut because she looks super hot with it. To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which is a Netflix movie. It's like a trashy rom-com about teenagers. Led to a huge increase in the sales of Yakult because
gotta get them probiotics.
Because they're Korean and they really like Yakult, and then they give it to some. Anyway, rammed on noodles after Parasite. 400% an increase in Google searches for the recipe.
Jesus.
Sad ones. I got some shit ones for you here.
Oh no.
This happens with a lot of any Disney movie involving animals. A year after the live-action 101 Dalmatians film, which had Glenn Close in it, iconic, she was amazing in that role. So a year after that, dog shelters had a huge influx of abandoned Dalmatians because Dalmatians are really smart, high-energy dogs, and you can't just get one and ignore it.
They are menaces.
Finding Nemo led to localized extinction of wild clownfish in parts of Thailand, Sri Lanka, and the Philippines.
Jesus.
When Breaking Bad got popular, so did meth. In 2014, British Border Patrol saw a 400% increase in smuggling of meth.
It's easy. I saw it on the TV.
Yeah, it's easy. It's blue, right? What else is good? Fast and Furious movies led to an increase in speeding.
I thought it was going to lead to an increase in family sizes.
I think V for Vendetta and those fucking Guy Fawkes masks.
Yeah, it led to an increase in virginity.
And Mad Men led to an increase in the sales of Lucky Strike cigarettes.
Amazing.
So there you go. That's there are so many more examples. Like, people see something, and we could look at one from this year, Running Up That Hill, Kate Bush.
One of the worst songs ever made.
It's one of Kate Bush's worst songs. I wouldn't say it's one of her best.
The bar is very low in that.
Hey, fuck off. I will not. Nah, let's go. That's it.
Bad. I don't know who's worse, Slayer or Kate Bush. They're both fucking
Oh, Joshua.
These are hills that I'm willing to die on.
I also have some really funny trends.
You're gonna run up it first,
from the past. So
that was good, Grant. I'm going to pay that. Well done. Sorry.
Okay. So I think the youth culture is responsible for a lot of trends because I was looking up weird trends and fads that have happened in past years, and a lot of them all started from college campuses or from famous people. So like flagpole sitting in 1925. Which is hilarious, and we should all bring it back. Just sitting atop a flagpole, which must be really hard. But
very hard.
The record ended up being 49 days in 1929, and then people just kind of lost interest. Goldfish swallowing live goldfish.
Yeah, well, when did 1929? When did the radio come out?
I think it was the Great Depression that stopped it. But goldfish swallowing.
That's the perfect time to sit on.
I was going to say, if I was very depressed, I think I'd just go and sit on a flagpole. Surely
that's in 1939. So World War II is when goldfish swallowing started. which is ridiculous. And the record was 401 goldfish in 1941. So there's people over dying in the war, and then people are just swallowing goldfish.
I'm glad that made it into obscurity because that's fucking weird.
Yeah, right. Panty raids was a really big trend, which luckily got phased out thanks to feminism. But through the 50s, so like 1952 to 1961, it was ridiculous. And it was at over 50 college campuses across America and over 3,000 male panty raiders at the University of Texas in 1961. 3,000 dudes doing, and it's like, and then luckily that fucking ended. But you know, like,
that's so expensive to replace that much underwear. 3,000 people all stealing people's underwear. That's expensive.
I would be so mad. Like, also, there is nothing that would scare me more than if I was like sitting in bed, just, you know, like having a night, and then some fucking dude climbed through my window. I'd be like, what? This is it. This is how I go. This is it. This is death. Like,
he's like, sorry, just after your knickers.
Just after your knickers, love. I'd be like,
okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
glad that one's gone away.
I think we should bring back flagpole sitting. Yeah,
I'm not against that. I'm not against that. Of all the playing, like, I think like we'd need more flagpole. I feel like there was probably more flagpoles in 1929 than there is flagpoles today. I feel like it was more of a thing in 1929.
I've got a flagpole for you, if you know what I mean.
I just had to hold that. I just pausing.
I just want to, and so I also want to remind people of cultural fads. So I've got some stuff from time. So people, if you're in the ballpark of age of the hosts, these are going to fucking get you going. I've got some stuff to get nostalgic over of just things that were a big for a time. Josh, you could just edit all of these out later, but these are just for you because I love you boys. MySpace.
I didn't even have MySpace.
MySpace, though, is a great example of fading into obscurity because Tom, the dude who invented MySpace, like the fucking Mark Zuckerberg, like the version, like Tom was your first friend on MySpace. You'd start MySpace and you'd add your friends, but you were always friends with Tom.
And it was really funny to put Tom in your top 8.
As like your number one kind of thing. But he sold MySpace for like $500 million. And now Tom is like, he has faded into complete obscurity. Apparently now he just travels the world and takes photos. And I was like, that is the perfect example of fading into obscurity. He is like a fucking legend. Because he literally is just like, he just cashed out.
And MySpace fucking tanked after that, which was a good move.
Very bad.
The Cinnamon Challenge.
Oh, I remember that one.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go have definitely faded out into obscurity.
That's still going today. I still know people that play Pokemon Go.
Yeah, but it's like it was so big for a second.
Everyone had it.
Huge fad. And then all of a second it's just kind of like, what's the next trend?
Everyone got sick of walking.
Yeah. The Ice Bucket Challenge.
That was like, I was always confused by the Ice Bucket because that was for something though, wasn't it?
It was like meant to be like
raise awareness for something.
But clearly it didn't raise any awareness because none of us know what it was raising awareness for.
It was for some neurological disease, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what it was because the fad just became the thing.
And then people were just pouring ice on themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think it's funny to put an ice cube down the back of someone's shirt. I think that's great. Words with Friends. Which was
pretty sure my mum still plays
that. Like Scrabble?
Yeah, it's like online Scrabble. Twerking, that was big. Farmville.
Oh, Farmville. I used to play Call of Duty professionally when I was young. And what used to happen was my mum would boot up Farmville and it would destroy the internet. At one time I was in what they would call a clan match, which is like where like your team versus another team. Like I'd say professionally, but it's not like in stadiums, but it's like the level under it. There is money involved. And I was the last alive and you only get one life. And I was looking literally at the last person about to win the game. And then my mum boots up Farmville, just lag through the ass, like garbage packing of internet. And like I I'm not an angry person, but I yelled some choice words in those situations.
I mean, isn't that what Call of Duty was about?
Yeah.
Yelling choice
But
words.
also, like, because I was maybe 12 or 13 at
Call
that
of
time.
Duty, that was the fucking time.
Yeah,
I was
it's
a fan.
still going apparently. My mum used to also log into my Facebook account so she could play both Farmvilles.
Oh my god. Okay,
Amazing.
planking. Remember planking?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oof.
Anyone here
Oh,
ever
I'm so
plank?
glad. I never planked, thankfully.
No, I never tried it. I try now to cut, like, to lose some weight, but I don't plank on just any object.
No,
Fidget
that was fucking
spinners.
Yeah,
I never got
got
into
fidget
those.
spinner.
I never got into those.
Which
But I
is
was like,
shocking as ADHD is
yeah, but like 20 years before fidget spinners was a thing, was like yo-yos were a thing. Like, and I had a yo-yo, which is the fucking early 90s equivalent of a fucking fidget spinner. Obviously, yo-yos were around in the 70s and the 80s or whatever, but there was a massive resurgence, like mid 90s, about huge resurgence of them.
True.
If you had like, I remember like Moose was the brand, and if you had,
I remember Moose.
the brain was like the sick one, because you could do the stalls at the bottom, and it spun in a particular way that was really sick. Or the silver bullet was the other one, because there was a rumor going around that if you spun a silver bullet, it would spun so fast it would break your finger when it came back up. But that yo-yos were something that faded into obscurity again. But they've kind of gone in peaks and waves and shit.
Yeah.
Maybe yo-yos are about to make a comeback though, because I feel
I
like
don't think so.
Everyone's got iPhones now. They don't need yo-yos.
No, but that's the thing, is like, if you made like a TikTok account that was just like yo-yo tricks, because maybe there is a popular TikTok. I don't.
Josh, this is it.
Like,
This is your TikTok account.
No, fucking no, absolutely not. I don't want to.
The Harlem Shake.
See, I was literally thinking about the Harlem Shake earlier today, because my favorite Harlem Shake was the one where it's like someone threw the brick into the washing machine, and then the washing machine
You
just
shut
destroys
dancing.
itself. It's so fun. That's when it's doing Harlem Shake and just fucking. But that was like a Vine thing, though, wasn't the Harlem Shake?
Yeah, that was Vine.
Yeah. Taking a knee or T-bowing.
T-bowing.
Yes. Yeah. Some dude did it before a game. Like he took a knee before a football game and it blew up, and everyone would just take a knee. And yeah.
But I love that you say that, because that was the same thing, because that was raising awareness as well. And it's like, because you said that, because it's like, because you don't remember what that was about, do you?
Yeah. No, I just remember everyone was taking knees for a while.
Yeah, but that was because the dude was an African American who was taking a knee during the national anthem as sort of a protest of like police brutality, and he got like torn through and like lost all his sponsorships and stuff like that. It's like people were taking a knee like to raise awareness, but it becomes
So everyone was just like, "Oh, that's a fun move, though."
Yeah, well,
that's fucking sad.
It's that thing about not thinking. It's like monkey see, monkey do. Yeah. Everyone's going on a knee. I'm gonna kneel.
But there's like a double kind of fade into obscurity there. It's because like the thing becomes popular, and then you like the reason behind it fades into obscurity, and then people stop like doing the thing as well, and then the thing fades into obscurity after the knowledge does.
Yeah. Angry Bird. That's something people are either going to know or not know.
It was a movie. Didn't they make a movie? How do you make a movie about an app where you just play like really basic Mario?
I've got the book that explains all of that, and we could do a whole episode on that. I have a book that's literally called it's called Making Movies for Fun and Profit, but fun is crossed out in it, and it's written by the dudes who made the movie Herbie Fully Loaded, and it's just all about how to make a movie specifically to cash in, for no other reason other than just cashing in. It's really funny. Like,
isn't that really why people make movies?
Well, that's why people would make a fucking Angry Birds movie, is to literally just cash in. But yeah, that was like the whole point of this book, is about like the tongue-in-cheek reasons for like why you kind of do it. All right, Marky, give us one last one, and then I feel like we should probably wrap up the Fading into Obscurity episode. So what's the last one?
What do I want to? I just have people left on the list now. Geez, this is a tough one. Oh, here we go. Rebecca Black, who released the song Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no. there's an example of a one-hit wonder if ever I fucking saw it. Yeah. I've completely forgotten your name, but that's the thing is like we attach to like certain things. As soon as you said the Friday song, I was like, oh yeah, that. But could not for the life of me ever tell you that girl's name.
I know, right? Oh my god. So there are so many fucking obscure things out there that like just these weird like things. Just it's so weird that just like a combination of words just makes you go like, oh, I remember that. Oh, like
Yeah.
It's never a fond memory, is it?
Yeah, like
it's just dark things.
It's just dark times at Ridgemont High.
But dear listener, we do have to round out this this idea. We're going to let this topic fade into obscurity, if you will. But there you go. There you go. I'm it's not my best, but I'm sticking with it because I'm proud. And like I said, I
we're
have
talking about Metallica. You could have said Fade to Black, so missed it.
Oh well. But we need to move into the final beat for this episode. Every week we ask a question of the hosts. I make a hilarious like chop up of it to put up on TikTok and to put up on Instagram. And then we ask you the question as well. So you can follow Northside Nerds on TikTok, on Instagram. Every Friday we post a question. Every week we put it to you.
Balrogs and Blastbeats.
Hashtag Balrogs and Blastbeats, hashtag Northside Nerds. But it's a would you rather this week. And I quite like this would you rather, I'm going to be honest. So the question is, would you rather have a third arm underneath your dominant arm? So like under here.
Yeah, so you can wear F-shirts.
Yeah, or an eye in the back of your head. So Grant, let's put it to you first. Would you rather have a third arm underneath your dominant arm or an eye in the back of your head?
Third arm for sure. Like I'm not a caveman. I don't live in the wilderness. I don't need I don't need an eye in the back of my head to see stuff. Like I'm not in danger.
And also you play technical death metal, so
yeah, third arm, absolutely every day of the week. That's useful. I could put that to use. I could do stuff with that.
Yeah, that's yeah.
It's a fair.
How about you, Margy?
If I had an eye in the back of my head, would it need glasses?
It's a good question. Let's say no.
Okay.
Would you need a haircut?
Well, yeah, you need to have like a little.
Let's say there's a gap where it doesn't. Let's say there's a gap.
Ew, so I've got a bald patch. That's fucking disgusting.
There's an eye there, so it's technically not a bald patch. It's an eye spot.
Doing makeup on the back of my head sounds pretty hard. Also, like if you were like. If I got the third eye on the back of my head, I'd have to would I have to relearn all my visual processing, or would I wake up and I have 30 years of experience equivalent using the eye on the back of my head? Because visual processing is really hard, and orientation and moving, and it's a very complex combined thing. So if I had the third eye on the back of my head, would I have to relearn visual processing and surroundings awareness? Like,
is it like having a mirror because you have no depth perception from the back of your head? Like, I was like, why are you chasing me? And this guy's like fucking 5 meters away.
Like, if you woke up tomorrow and suddenly you'd grown an extra eye in the back of your head, your brain would have to learn how to process all of those signals and understand them. Like, nah.
But it's the same as like an arm under here as well. Like,
third arm, only got 5 fingers. There's less shit going on. There's less nerve stuff than an eye. So I'm going to absolutely go with third arm. I could be so much better at bass, painting, conservation. I just like doing shit with my hands. That's what I do. And if I had a third hand, I could like be conserving a painting so much better. Or I could be, do you reckon you'd be able to get like a bit more of your back too? Like
you'd also have like a really sore spine because your body would be mega imbalanced.
I already have my spine didn't grow properly. It would probably make me fine. Like, no, I've already got a malformed spine. So if I had a third arm, probably balance me. What do you reckon, Josh?
Okay. I like the idea of a third arm, so I could like be typing while my third arm is like making me drink coffee at the same time. Like that's kind of where
drink coffee, of course. That's why you picked your dominant hand.
Yeah, it has to be there. But
drink coffee.
I'm actually going to say the eye in the back of my head though, because I like the idea of just being able to like scope different. Because I always find this when I'm hiking and I want to take a photo, is like the view in front of you is the opposite of the view behind you. So you actually like, if I'm like hiking in a circuit, I'm only ever seeing 50% of the view because I'm not seeing the perspective from the other side. And so I always find myself turning around to take the shot the other way, because sometimes the light is better, or the landscape is better, and all that kind of stuff. And so if I had an eye in the back of my head that could like see that shot, I feel like it would make my life a lot easier. So it's like I like the idea of being able to type while drinking
Does
coffee,
your
but I'm
arm
actually
still have to work backwards to take that shot because you're going like this.
no, I could. I'm saying then I would turn around to do it properly.
You can
But I
turn around now. You just gotta pay more attention.
No, but I'm like, I don't have to do that. I've just got the sign in the back of my head that's
Just
telling
wear
me
a
the whole time.
GoPro on the back of your head, and then you just got footage of the whole thing anyway. You're fucking good to go.
Nah, so I'm going eyeball in the back of my head because I wanna be able to see more.
I could pat more dogs. I could. Yeah, and oh my god, I could. Oh my god, do it. I just thought about painting my fingernails. Having a third arm would either make it a lot easier or a lot harder, and I'm not sure which. But
like one hand's holding your finger steady while the other hand's coming in to paint it, sort of thing.
And then, but would they all be wet and dry? I'm just trying to think about if I'd smudge my nail polish worse or better. Worse or better?
That's more of a test of patience rather than how many arms you have.
That explains a lot.
No. But dear listener, we need to know, what are you choosing between a third arm underneath your dominant arm or an eye in the back of your head?
What about an eye under your dominant arm? That'd be pretty funny if you lifted up your arm. You just had a little.
No, I wouldn't. Have you ever got sweat in your eye? It burns.
Oh,
Imagine that all the time.
Absolutely not. That's not the question. Absolutely not. You can let us know if you're watching this on YouTube. You can let us know in the comments. You can let us know on Instagram, on Facebook. What are you choosing? A dominant arm or a third arm under your dominant arm, or an eye in the back of your head? And I'm curious to know why.
I want to know what your glasses. I want to know what your glasses would look like as well, Josh. With like the extra bit on the back for your eye. I think it's a fashion statement waiting to happen.
I'm picturing, like, you know how like sports people will get glasses and then there's like the band that kind of keeps it in shape. Yeah. I'm just expecting like a band kind of in the middle, and so there's like a hard part on both sides that I kind of like pull over myself, and it gives me goggles, and then there's just like one goggle in the back.
That sounds like a medieval torture device.
The back's just gonna kind of look like a headlamp.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah. Super cool. Where I could have an extra arm. Imagine. Oh, you'd just be so cool. You'd never miss a high five. Like, they'd be like, oh, too slow, and then your other hand gets it, and you're like, ha ha. I'm so funny.
Absolutely. But we're gonna call this a week for another episode of Balrogs and Blastbeats.
7 days.
7 days is a week. Absolutely. Yep. That's the facts for the week. If you didn't know that.
I thought we were about to start talking about The Grudge. I'm disappointed now. Or is it The Ring? That's The Ring.
That's The Ring.
That's The Ring, yeah.
I can't remember what happens in The Grudge. That's
it's
just
a house.
Like the haunted house, isn't it?
Yeah.
I need to go and watch some Japanese horror for me. Nah, I need to go and cook some dinner. That's what I need to do.
No, I'm going to go watch Starship Troopers.
Margy's going to watch Starship Troopers. Grant's going to go play some Pokemon.
Hell yeah.
And Pokemon Go.
Starship Troopers. That's why I play Pokemon.
I gotta go. I gotta Pokemon Go. As in leave.
Still somehow not the worst joke of this podcast.
You're welcome. I will always provide the bottom of the barrel for you.